Hello, beautiful people. My name is Emma.
And I'm MC.
And we're your hosts of the G-Forces podcast. This is now the third time we've tried to record this intro. The first time I messed up. The second time I didn't start the camera. And now we're finally getting started.
All right. That was a journey to get here. I can assure you guys. We're struggling, but we're bringing it to you.
Luckily, we were only like a minute and a half in. I
Yeah.
don't think we yapped too much.
No, I think we said 7 words.
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. Okay. We are going to be in, not we. F1's going to be in Mexico this weekend. Woo!
Honestly, and I said this last episode, Mexico, Brazil, like the triple header of COTA, Mexico, Brazil is
It's not a triple header this year.
I know it's not a triple header, but just
close enough.
the like the three of them together.
The 3 in a row.
I just love it.
Tic-tac-toe.
I love it. But Mexico is going to be lots of fun.
Yes.
It is one of the top tracks, in my opinion, on the schedule.
I don't know if it's necessarily a top track for action.
But I just think
Energy's great.
Yeah.
Always great.
And I feel like I don't have, negative memories towards Mexico.
No, the only memories that I really have of Mexico
Is
Checo crashing out. Danny doing really well in 2023 at Mexico. And then what else? That damn cone at one of the turns and just really getting annihilated by everybody.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good weekend. It's always a good race.
The energy's so good. That fun fact, in like 1967 or something, on this track, they actually had to cancel the Grand Prix because there were too many people. It was a safety hazard.
Yeah.
So people love it there.
Yeah, I mean, the Mexican fans come out in full force. It is...
And I'm sure they're going to be very excited about Checo coming back next year.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if we'll see
Checo.
If we'll see either Checo or if there's going to be a lot of Cadillac, fan-made.
I hope so.
It'll be nice to have him back on the grid for this one next year.
Yeah,
but,
agreed.
I'm trying to think of anything else.
I think that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last episode for those that tuned in, but the title is very close, so I think there's just going to be a lot of drama, a lot of anticipation this coming weekend.
I think there's going to be a lot of drama.
Yeah, and I think if anyone makes a mistake or gets out,
let's not blame it on anyone.
Well, I just think it's going to become like a media frenzy.
Yeah, I think people are freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, but...
So, what are you talking about today?
So, I was looking back at the episodes that we've done in the past for Mexico, and I don't think we had a get ready for Mexico last year.
No, we did not.
And so we've only gone over one driver, but I believe there's only been about 6 Mexican drivers in F1 history. So the first driver that I went over was Pedro Rodríguez, and this time I'm going over the second half of the Hermano Rodríguez. I'm going to go over Pedro, his older brother's career. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the circuit that they're at is called, I think, like the...
Hermanos Rodríguez, Autodromo.
Autodromo. It wasn't always called that, but as I'll go through as I go through the history, you'll see these are 2 of the most, history-making Mexicans. Like, they broke a lot of barriers, and I think they're just a really important part of F1 history, especially the familial tie. So what about you? What are you going over?
Given the really tight title fight that we have right now, when I was doing some research on past Mexican GPs, I found one that's actually famous for being a dramatic finale in the World Drivers' Championship. So I'm talking about the 1964 Mexican Grand Prix.
Okay.
I hope ours don't overlap too much.
I don't go super into detail with races, so I feel like we'll be fine.
And I don't think that he was racing in it because I don't mention that driver at all.
Yeah, the earlier years were a bit of all over the place for him.
Because I think he really got into it in the later 60s. I think this is the last year that he wasn't really in.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into it.
Pedro Rodríguez was born on January 18th, 1940 in Mexico City, Mexico. Similar to his brother, they didn't start in the karting world and instead they got into cycling races, and by the age of 11, Pedro was already a national champion for his division in motorcycles. So like starting him young. By the time he was around 15, he had dabbled a little bit in cars and finally decided to race full-time in local races. Looking him up at 1.2, I think he was a bit of like all over the place. So his dad sent him to military school in the United States for him to like straighten up but also learn English. And around these years when his dad and his brother went to go pick him up, I believe they went to the Indy 500 in person. So like,
oh, cool.
Another connection to motorsports. In 1957, so now he's about 17, after a slew of races in North America, Pedro would enter into his first Le Mans, the first of 14 appearances in Le Mans. He would continue with the endurance racing for the next few years, and something that would continue on throughout his career, placing second in his class at the Reims 12 hours, second in his class at the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometers, and entering the 1959 Le Mans with his brother. Unfortunately, their car broke, so they ended up not finishing. In 1960, Pedro would continue with a very similar schedule. You see, like, Le Mans was always on his schedule, Sebring, the Nürburgring 1,000, like, all of these were consistently on his schedule year to year. He would have to retire from Le Mans in 1960 yet again, something that he would kind of suffer with, or like he would struggle with, and I think it's expected in the type of race that Le Mans is. When you read a lot of history on the drivers, cars break all the time. In 1961, Pedro would join Formula Junior. Now, this category of racing only lasted like 5 or 6 years, but basically it was trying to bridge the gap between karting and single-seater racing. The entire world of motorsports, while similar in like the early ages, I think it just wasn't, like there weren't as many people, and so this was trying to have more young drivers get into it. It was just building the beginning paths of what we see of like the lower formulas. Like we always see back then, he was in the junior formula, but he was also continuing to compete in the distance racing. I can't remember what year it was, but there was a period of time where the FIA finally was like, you can't be doing endurance racing and GT racing and F1 and IndyCar occasionally all in the same year.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. At the 1961 Le Mans, Pedro once again competed with his brother. While they didn't finish the race due to engine issues, they did impress Enzo Ferrari since they were battling with one of the Ferrari cars. Enzo went ahead and offered both brothers a spot in F1 with Ferrari. Ricciardo took the seat, making history as the youngest Ferrari driver at the time. I'm not sure if he ever, if anyone younger's been on that team. But Pedro would decline the seat. Apparently, one of the reasons why he declined it was that he owned like a business in Mexico, and I believe he got married in 61, so I'm not sure if he was just like trying to be a family man. I'm not sure. But he declined the F1 seat.
Okay.
In 1962, Pedro would follow his typical schedule once again with endurance races as his brother raced in F1. Now, 1962 was the first year that the Mexican Grand Prix was held, but it wasn't a championship, like, regulation race. It was just one of the, like, they did this back then, where it didn't count towards the points towards the title. So Ferrari decided not to make the trip over to Mexico, and due to the historical importance of the fact that they're from Mexico, there are these names in autosport that are, breaking barriers. Both brothers found spots on the grid. Unfortunately, this was the same weekend that Ricciardo was killed during practice, causing Pedro to understandably withdraw from the race. A lot of people weren't sure if this incident where, you kind of see this reaction from other people, sometimes people will take a step back from the sport or retire entirely after losing someone close or a family member. I mean, we saw, I think it was like Jim Clark or Damon Hill. We haven't gone over Damon Hill, so not him. But one of the older...
Graham Hill.
How, like, seeing their friends die changed something.
Yeah, I think it would with the guys on the grid today. I don't think that, like, they would be okay.
No, it would definitely change something. Fans saw him yet again competing in, you guessed it, endurance races such as the Daytona Continental, Sebring, and the Indy 500. Which I'm counting the Indy 500 as an endurance race because it's
like 4 hours long.
It's like 4 hours long. That's not really what the F1 drivers are doing. Pedro would finally make his F1 Grand Prix debut in 1963, competing in Watkins Glen in New York and the Mexican race for Lotus. I don't think he finished either race. And at this point, like, again, F1 history has really evolved, especially the relationship with the drivers. I mean, I don't think teams were limited to 2 cars at this point. The grid wasn't just 20 drivers. Like, the grid changed from race to race. There was only 11 actually. Like, so just, if you want to look deeper into it, like, I don't think drivers' contracts were obviously the drivers' contracts that they are today. So he was only in a few races. 1964-1965 would not see him often in the F1 world, but he would continue racing, primarily focusing on races in North America. In 1966, we would see Pedro grace the F1 grid yet again, driving for Lotus. He would only participate in a handful of races that season. I think it was something like 4, having to retire every time.
Oh, God.
In 1967, Pedro was given the opportunity to race for Cooper at Kyalami. It's a circuit in South Africa, so I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Think we should go back there, personally.
Yes. This was the first race of the season and his opportunity to prove it to the team that he deserved a full-time spot. After some equipment drama with his teammate, who it just seemed like his teammate was being prioritized as the number 1 driver, Pedro Rodríguez made history and was the first Mexican driver to win an F1 Grand Prix. So, thought that was pretty cool. You know, like, this guy's career is all over the place, and
they still won a race.
He still is able to win a race. In 1968, Pedro would move over to BRM, hoping for a better car. It seemed that, yet again, the team prioritized Rodriguez's teammate Mike Spence, but Mike Spence would ultimately end up passing that season, and with less testing worked on and the car not worked on as often, Pedro would end up being released from the team at the 68 season. Like, I just don't think it was a good fit. He would move to Reg Parnell, I think it's Reg Parnell Racing for the 1969 season, but the car was so bad, he left the team in the middle of the season and moved to Ferrari for the second half. Unfortunately, the Ferraris were not much faster. He would wrap up 1969 with Ferrari, but they would not enter into an agreement for the 1970 F1 season. Ironically, Pedro would go back to BRM for the 1970 season and once again would be put in the second driver's position. He was able to win the Belgian GP that year, breaking records for speed. Like, I think he broke, he was the fastest driver for that time. Pedro would continue with BRM for the 1971 season, but unfortunately would not be able to finish the season. On July 11th, 1971, Rodriguez was driving at Norrisring in Germany. It's a street circuit. There appeared to be issues with one of his tires, and when he took one of the turns, the tire came off, sending his car off the track and into a wall. Unfortunately, the car caught fire, and when he was pulled from the wreckage, he passed shortly after. He was 31 years old. Pedro was considered one of the best drivers and one of the best racers in the rain, along with one of the most well-rounded drivers in motorsport. Throughout his career, he would compete in F1, Can-Am, NASCAR, rally car driving, endurance driving, including a love for Le Mans and the Indy 500. I believe he ended up actually winning Le Mans, I think in 68 or 69. Throughout Pedro Rodriguez's F1 career, which honestly seems like such a small portion of his motorsport history and story, he entered into 55 races with F1, he won 2 GPs, and was on the podium 7 times. That's Pedro Rodríguez. So crazy. Like, I didn't even want to. I wish I could have deep dived on like all the other things he did, like even looking like deeper into his endurance.
You'd have to do an entire episode just on him.
Just on him, because even like his history with Le Mans and all those stories. But yeah, unfortunately, a really tragic history with the Rodriguez family and motorsport.
Yeah.
And just like a hazard of those early days. I mean, the first 2 decades, a lot of people passed in wrecks, and the safety just was not there. But
no.
definitely gives you a lot more insight of like the importance of the name of the circuit as well for this coming weekend. Like, it's important to remember history, especially like the ones we lost. And you know, there's so many drivers that have come through F1 that it's easy to forget about.
Yeah.
So many, especially so many that died so long ago at such a young age. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get into my segment. Just a quick fun fact actually, about the Mexican Grand Prix that I found out when I was researching this. So the Mexican Grand Prix happened it was like 1962 to like 68 or something, and then it actually stopped after that. And then didn't start again until like I think they might have had something in the 70s if I can recall correctly. But they in the 2000s they were really trying to get it to come around again.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bernie Ecclestone was like, yeah, it'll happen in 2009. It didn't happen in 2009. It was like, yeah, it'll happen no. And then it finally came back around. I think it started again in 2014.
Wow.
And then in 2019, the mayor of Mexico City at the time, now the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, crazy to think she was just the mayor of Mexico City and now she's the president of the country. She actually said, we're no longer going to have the Mexican Grand Prix in 2019 because the money that I guess the city was having to put up for the Grand Prix, she's like, I'd rather use that to like update our train system. Yeah. Literally was like, I want to update our train system. And nothing ever was discussed about it again. And yet they've still had the Mexican Grand Prix there ever since.
Wow.
Random, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, thought that was fun when I looked at it. I was like, oh, I know this name. Okay. So the 1964 Mexican Grand Prix, it happened at, okay, I'm going to pronounce this as best as I can. There's just one word at the end that I'm not going to be able to pronounce correctly. Okay, Ciudad Deportiva Magdalena. It's Mixhuca. That is not a letter formation. That is in my dialogue.
I saw that name in my research, and I agree with you. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't want to butcher it either.
Mixhuca is the best thing that I could think. Maybe
we'd have to look it up.
I'm thinking like Oaxaca.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up and see like interviews and stuff like that
but that's what the track used to be called.
Yes, and then
now it's called the Aerodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And it's in Mexico City, if you didn't know, actually. I don't think we've actually said that it's in Mexico City. Did we?
Well, I said that's where the Rodriguez brothers were from. So I don't know if we said it, but anyways.
Yeah, it's in Mexico City. When they built the track, the main goal was to have it in the center of a major city, which is exactly what happened.
Yes.
And so this race happened on October 25th, 1964. It was the last race of the season. At that point, they only had 10 official races for the season. Crazy to think about.
Yeah, one of the seasons they were like 11 races, and I was like, that would be insane.
Imagine ending the season after 10 races. Like, so much happens.
They would spread out. Like, they would have like a month between races.
Teams would have to bring upgrades every single weekend.
Yeah. Anyways.
And this was a big race to determine both the World Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship. But at that point, they call it the International Cup for Formula One manufacturers and the World Championship of Drivers. Okay. Like I said at the beginning, it is considered one of the most dramatic finales in the history of the World Drivers' Championship. I think that the next few races could be included in that. I think
Yeah.
also Abu Dhabi 2021 was quite dramatic.
Yeah.
But the reason why this was so dramatic is because there were 3 drivers that had the potential to win the championship depending on the results of this race. So kind of like this year.
Yeah.
So championship points at this time, very different than it is today. You could only the first 6 drivers, first 6 finishers scored points, and it went from first place getting 9 points, second place getting 6, third place getting 4, fourth place getting 2, and then fourth place getting 3, fifth place getting 2, and sixth place getting 1.
Yeah.
Skipped over the 3 there. So very different than it is today. So getting to race, like I said, there were 3 drivers who had the potential to win the championship. At the moment, Graham Hill is in the lead. He was with British BRM, so British Racing Motorsport or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And he had 39 points at the beginning of this weekend. John Surtees, driving for Ferrari, had 34 points. And then Jim Clark, driving for Lotus, had 30 points. So they were all very tight. In order to win the title, Jim Clark was going to have to win the race, with Surtees not finishing any higher than 3rd and Hill not higher than 4th. Surtees could only win the title by finishing 1st in each case or 2nd, unless Hill finishes high as 3rd.
Okay.
I hope you understood what I was just saying. You can figure out the point system for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. This was also a big race for our guy, Dan Gurney. If you're new here, just so you know, in our research last year, we discovered that we actually graduated from the same high school as Formula One driver Dan Gurney.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Formula One driver, but Formula One race winner, Dan Gurney.
Who still has a part on F1 cars.
Still an important
Still
part of
named
F1
after
history.
him. So
pretty cool.
We have no connection beyond that. Like many years in between, and his family moved away from New York.
About 60 years in between our graduation years, but our mom did find his yearbook photo.
Yeah.
Anyways.
In the library, not.
Yeah, how else would she have found it? She snuck into their house. It was a heist to their house.
It was like the Louvre. Anyways.
Okay, so Clark was on pole for the race, and Dan Gurney was in P2. Gurney only had 10 points going into the race. He had won the French Grand Prix and scored 6th place at the Belgian Grand Prix. So he had only had 10 points. So he was nowhere near being able to win. I don't really know why he had done so well in qualifying compared to the rest of the races that season, but I mean, power to him. So Hill and Bandini was Surtees' teammate, so he was also a Ferrari driver. We've said his name like many times as we're telling stories about races, but we've never actually spoken about him. Maybe one day. We'll see. If we decide. Okay, so Hill and Bandini were battling for 3rd, and then Surtees was all the way back into solid 5th place. Not where he wanted to be. Bandini actually ran into the back of Hill's car, causing him to spin into the Armco, which is a part of the race course, damaging his exhaust, and he lost a few places. And then after that, his car ran with a crumpled exhaust pipe, causing him to lose power.
Oh my god.
I feel like the cars at this point in time, like if you hit them, they were tanks and nothing would happen, or you hit them and everything would just fall out the bottom of the car. Okay. So Clark now is starting to realize that if positions remain the same, he would be champion with 4 victories to Hill's 2. So, like, even though Hill had more points than him, Jim Clark had more wins. So then if Jim Clark had won this race, then they would have had the same number of points, and Hill had more wins, which means that he would have won the championship.
Okay, makes sense.
So he's like freaking out, thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna be it." And at this point, Clark had won. This would have been like his 3rd or 4th championship in a row. Like he was I think he had the most number of wins at this race course until 2019, which
Wow.
there was a good chunk of time where they weren't even racing here. So I don't know if that really is that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it,
It's okay.
when I read it, I was like, "Oh, cool,
Fun stat.
Yeah. On the last lap, though, it's always the last lap. An oil line failed, and Clark's engine seized as the Lotus crossed the line with 1 lap left to go.
I remember this.
It happens.
I obviously
Only
don't
at this
remember watching it.
time.
I remember when I did research on Jim Clark.
She just does a really great skincare. Now the positions, because Clark was basically out, the positions were Gurney in first, my guy, Bandini in second, and Surtees in third. Ferrari's freaking out in the pit, being like, oh my gosh, like, if Bandini lets Surtees pass, it's going to give him the points that he needs to win the championship, because he needed to be second over Hill, because Hill was still in the race. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. Hill was not in the race anymore. Clark was still in the race, I think, somehow.
Well, who stopped at the finish line?
It was Clark. Hill got out earlier.
Yeah, so if Clark stopped at the finish line, is he still in?
I think, you know how, like, when they get into a crash, technically on the last lap, they didn't, like, DNF? Because they did so many laps.
Okay, yeah.
They just, like, finished a lap behind.
Okay.
So, like, I think it's going to consider that, like, Clark finished a lap behind.
Okay.
But I think he still needed a certain number of points. Like, he needed to come in second, Surtees. And so, Ferrari is, like, motioning Bandini to slow down by the pit wall so that they can say to him, like, you need to let your teammate pass. Calling team orders.
Yeah.
Another touchy subject at the moment. And so Ferrari ends up getting Bandini to slow down, tells him that he needs to let Surtees through. He does listen to team orders. Gurney wins the race. Surtees comes in second, and then Bandini comes in third. And then Surtees ends up winning the championship that year.
Damn.
I know.
Can you imagine? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're dealing with stuff like that. I mean, it feels like we are.
I feel like that's what's going to happen. Some shit like that's going to happen. But it's going to be like the Racing Bulls are going to like mess up the race for McLaren so that Max can get through.
Yeah. Wow.
And this was actually, okay. So you know how like every year Ferrari is like, we're going back to our blue. Okay. The reason why they did blue was because when they would come to the US, they would race underneath this other team, Dart or something like that.
Yes.
And
I read about this with Pedro because a few of the races that he raced in for Ferrari, he was in blue.
Yeah, so when they would come to the US, they would race under the name Dart, I believe.
Yeah, it was like American.
I think it was financially for them. I think it was a finance thing.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And so the races that they would do in the US and North America just in general, so like in Mexico, they would race in blue. It's not the stupid blue that they show us today, the Smurf blue that they always end up doing.
It's like
it was like a navy blue, like a classic navy blue. And it looked great. And this was actually the last race that Ferrari, quote unquote, didn't wear like traditional colors. Not including the random offs that they now do in the Smurf blue.
Yeah.
So they always do the Smurf blue for Miami. I don't know why they don't bring it back for Mexico or something.
Or like for
because Mexico was their last time that they ever did it, so I feel like it would make sense to do it in Mexico.
Ferrari marketing.
And like, don't stop doing the light blue. Light blue's one of my favorite colors, but the blue y'all are doing is not it.
Yeah. Especially because you're not, like, truly doing it.
Yeah, do the traditional color.
Like, I will give it to them. Racing Bulls, who's ever in charge of their liveries.
It looks great every time.
Keep up the good work. You're bringing fun.
Yeah, remember the rainbow one that they had, like, 2 years ago?
For Miami.
It was so good.
The tortoiseshell that they had this past weekend was fun.
I don't think I noticed it.
Yeah, they had a tortoiseshell one this weekend.
Oh, I gotta take a look at that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Anyways. That is the 1964 Mexican Grand Prix. Not too, like, crazy detailed, because there's I feel like a lot of the races at this point in time, there's like not a lot written down about them.
Yeah, it's like short newspaper articles.
Yeah.
Like,
so I was kind of just going off of that stuff. But I think it would have been a fun race to see. And hopefully we'll see something like that this weekend. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, can you imagine if like Lando's car or someone's car just stops like a lot? That
I think it would be so fun. I mean, it wouldn't be fun for them. It would be fun as a spectator if a car just died on the stop finish straight on the last lap.
Yeah.
The chaos that would cause.
Yeah. Well, we shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, let's get into our final thoughts. Did you see that today it was announced that Colton Herta will be racing in F... We already knew that Colton Herta was going to be racing in F2, but they just had to find him a team. And he officially has a team now, so he'll be racing for High Tech for F2.
I don't know enough about F2 that it like really means much to me, which I know terrible.
Neither do I,
Guys,
but
we have
now
two-
he officially has a team.
But yeah, it's so weird.
Again, it feels like a downgrade.
I don't want to say downgrade. That feels harsh.
I think it is a downgrade because F2 drivers go from F2 over to Indy next,
But
and then Indy next to IndyCar.
we haven't seen this happen before, like in our time.
Because it makes no sense.
I mean, I don't know. It's they're
Imagine McLaren made Alex Palou go down to F2.
well, Alex Palou and McLaren are on.
I know,
are
I'm just
on
saying.
icy.
I'm just saying a hypothetical.
I think the problem is, and I've listened to a bunch of podcasts recently with James Hinchcliffe. So getting it from the IndyCar perspective
Okay.
is that I think F1 is still the dream for a lot of them.
Yeah.
That they are willing to do anything for that opportunity. So while this might be a downgrade, this is the only opportunity. What Colton Herta sitting in IndyCar is not going to get him an F1 seat. Like, I'm sorry to say it. And if that's what he wants, then he has to take that step. Also,
I mean, if Cadillac has promised him, like, you do a year
Yeah,
in F2, and then you come up to us.
ironically, Cadillac is probably watching the McLaren and Alex court bullshit going on
and
right
they're
now.
probably, thank God.
Watching it like freaking hawks if they're smart and making sure they don't make the same mistakes, because I think Cadillac has too many ties to like the American side of like IndyCar and whatnot. But I also just think everyone in IndyCar knows that this is because like Colton is going to be an F1.
Well,
that-
I do think that, like, this is going to show, like, a straight comparison between IndyCar and F1 / F2.
I mean, listen, we're not the biggest Colton Herta fans, but I'm excited because I think I have a sweet spot in my heart now for IndyCar. I think more people should be watching it. I think just as many people that watch and love F1, if you're bored with F1, we've said this time and time again, go to IndyCar. It is so much fun. So for me, I'm actually like, at first I was in the same boat with you where I was like, is this a demotion? I don't get it. But the more I thought about it, like James Hinchcliffe at one point said it in one of the interviews. He was like, people might not have gotten along with Colton on the grid in IndyCar, but now he has full support from every single driver.
100%.
And like, I think the competition in me is like, I hope he succeeds and like kicks ass to show people like how good IndyCar is.
Yeah, my problem with the going down to F2 though is that for me, I feel like it is a way that like the FIA has never treated IndyCar and F1 as equals.
That's what, yeah.
And so by going down to F2, I almost feel like it's telling the FIA that IndyCar is on the same level as F2. And I just think that that's not really what we want.
But I don't think it's even saying that because he has to join F2 to gain the super license points. So it's not even on the same level as F2.
Yeah, they treat it in between F2 and F3
Which is why I want him to come in and have this like, look what we can fucking do.
Yeah.
Look what we do over there. Because again, yeah, in agreement. Like, I don't think it gets the credit. A lot of the drivers have come out and been like, it's ridiculous that, like, I can't drive an F1 car. Like, the super license point system is...
Was it only started because of Max Verstappen?
Yes. They've just completely forgotten about IndyCar. They don't focus on it.
They treat it as if it's a feeder series for F1.
They don't
That's
even...
a lower level feeder series,
They don't
which
even
is
treat
crazy.
Emma, they don't even treat it like it's part of the FIA.
No, they don't.
Like, the FIA, I'm sorry, they're not even involved.
No.
In my opinion. Obviously, like, I'm sure there is some level of, like, involvement at the end of the day, but I feel like IndyCar is very much, like, we truthfully are, like, the American cousin.
The orphan stepchild.
Yeah. But I love it. I think if you haven't gone and watched, go watch this season. Also, James Hinchcliffe, he has a podcast, I think, with Alexander Rossi.
He does.
And he's like 11 years experience in IndyCar. He does a bunch of F1 stuff if you watch F1 TV.
He almost died in IndyCar.
He almost did die in IndyCar. But always has really good insight on the drivers, F1 and IndyCar, and just like I've always enjoyed.
We love him.
Yeah, he's really good. And he never feels like he's like talking. He's very much in the same realm of like Will Buxton, where it doesn't feel like they're talking down to people. They're just excited with the interest of the sport. So,
yeah.
If you ever see him, definitely give him a listen. Or if you see him in person, I guess go say hi. I don't know. I'm not him.
Go say hi. They're so nice.
Yeah, go say hi.
In my experience, Will Buxton was so nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yet again, had to bring up my close personal friend, Will Buxton.
Oh my god.
Okay, other thing. Did you see that Red Bull was fined $50,000 or euros or pounds or whatever? I don't know what currency it was in. I didn't take a look.
I did, and I'm confused because what McLaren did with the tape.
So let's explain why they got fined. So along the pit straight, on the start finish straight, you can apparently place tape along the wall to tell your driver where they're supposed to stop, like where is the beginning of their pit box. Not pit box.
Are you allowed
start box?
The start box. So
yeah, you're allowed to apparently. And so McLaren had placed tape on the wall for Lando. Because Lando's had a few times, there was twice this year where it's been either he went too far or he had a false start. Yeah. Anyways, they did that for Lando. And then during the formation lap, apparently a Red Bull employee went and took the tape off. So it wasn't there anymore for Lando.
So they were fined €50,000 because they went on the grid during a formation lap, which you're not allowed to.
And then took the tape off.
And yeah, I'm curious to see like what, because it'll obviously be asked.
People online were like, "Ooh, old Red Bull is back. Like, Are we scheming now?"
Oh my god. I wonder if it was like, I'm waiting for it to be something as simple as like miscommunication, or they'll be like, "Oh, it was distracting Max" or something, or like, "Oh, we thought it would." I don't know. I'm just curious to see what. I'm curious to see
if this is something that teams do every single week, like every single race. Tape? Do they put this tape on? Because I've never noticed it or heard about it.
Yeah,
but maybe something that always happens we've just never noticed.
I'm sure they'll touch upon it in media.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I feel like there was something else that was going on in the F1 world. We haven't had any updates about Alex Palou and McLaren in the 2 days since the last episode that was filmed. I can't really think of anything else.
No, neither can I.
Oh, Max apparently thinks it's funny now that he might has a real chance. I saw an article somewhere that he was like, "Yeah, I think it's kind of funny." And then Zach Brown apparently went up and apologized to Hulkenberg after the race for blaming him for the sprint crash.
Oh, well, you live and you learn.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing a podcast say the same thing that we said about how Zach Brown just needs to be a CEO.
Whose podcast?
Can't remember who it was.
Was it the Fast and Curious?
It might have been.
Yeah. But basically, I think a lot of people are feeling that way, where a lot of us have kind of forgotten about
Andrea Stella.
Not forgotten about him, but just forgotten what his title is, you know? So. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's probably everything.
Yeah.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow on all of the things, do all the things. I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.